Welcome to our second NARST Graduate Committee Career Steps webinar series. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. And if you could just in the chat put where you're joining us from as we wait for others to come into the meeting, that would be great. So tell us where you're joining us from. All right. Okay, I see folks writing in the chat. Thank you for telling us where you are. I see Arizona, Ohio, University of Illinois. So welcome all, regardless of where you're joining us from. Thank you for being part of this community. And yeah, so this webinar series is designed to support graduate students. As the graduate student committee, we understand that navigating the transition from graduate studies to a fulfilling career can be overwhelming at times. You know, there are countless possibilities: academia, industry work, government, nonprofit, and beyond. So graduate students often find themselves uncertain about which path to pursue or how to begin. So the Graduate Student Committee recognizes this challenge, and we're proud to introduce this Career Steps webinar series. This is an engaging monthly webinar series designed to illuminate the multiple career trajectories that are possible. So we want to offer guidance and foster meaningful connections within the NARST community. So this webinar series will feature accomplished PhDs and seasoned NARST members who have traversed this journey that some folks are beginning. So by sharing their personal stories, complete with our challenges and pivotal moments, and also the unexpected opportunities, so our speakers will bring to life the myriad routes to career success. And more than just providing mere inspiration, these sessions will provide concrete strategies and resources, also networks that you can leverage as you craft your own path. So after all, one meaningful connection can sometimes be that spark that defines your career trajectory. So welcome again to our Career Step webinar series number 2. So this is our second Career Step series. I hope I haven't lost you, that you can hear me. So as Isaac Newton once stated, that if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. So today, and in other webinar series, we will have people who've seen further, who've gone ahead of us, and we can stand on their shoulders. So today, we're fortunate to have a guest speaker, Dr. Kristen Bays. She's an assistant professor of STEM education at Northern Arizona University. So shortly, she will be speaking to us, sharing her experiences, and giving us advice that can help us on this journey. So I've already spoken about this Career Step series. We want to support graduate students and just be able to answer some of those questions that they have along their path. And the format, that we will have as we go through this session is simple. So for about 20 to 30 minutes, the guest will speak and they will talk about their career journey, the challenges that they might have faced, and they will also share the advice that they have for us, for graduate students who are continuing on this journey. Any insights or key decisions or turning points they had in their lives, they'll be able to share that, and practical advice. And then we'll open it up after that for a time of questions and answers from the participants. You can put your questions in the chat and I can read that out during that question and answer time. Or you can unmute your mic and ask the question. So without any further ado, I just want to make sure that I think our guest should be here. Yeah, is ready. So Dr. Kristen, Dr. Bays, are you ready?
Yeah.
Set to
I'm
go.
gonna. Oh, I wanted my screen to be split. That's okay. I'm gonna share my screen real quick if that's okay.
Yes.
And then make you all big enough that I can still see you. Okay. So I made. Don't look at that. I made some rather quick slides on my brief break I had between my class I was teaching and this. So it's mostly just pictures. I'm going to talk through each event as there's a picture, but just know that it's not formatted very well.
No problem. No problem.
No problem. It'll be okay. So I have like a stopwatch that I'm gonna use to make sure that I don't talk too long or too short. I have this thing where I really like talking about myself and I tend to ramble. So
You're
I'm gonna
not
keep
alone.
myself on track. Okay, so my career journey. Thanks. First of all, Collins, thank you so much for inviting me to this. I feel very honored to be the second speaker, I believe, in this series.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thanks for letting me be here. Again, my name is Christina Bays. I use she, her pronouns. Feel free to call me Christina or Dr. Bays or anything like that when we get to the Q&A. I'm okay with either name. So, my career journey kind of starts with here's a picture of me as a child. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I grew up, this picture is actually taken on the Navajo Reservation here in northern Arizona, near where I'm located. We had a family friend who every weekend we were out there helping him with his horses and cattle and things. So I remember distinctly in fourth grade, I decided I want to be a veterinarian. I'm going to be a livestock doctor. And I knew that's what I was going to be since fourth grade all the way through about halfway through my bachelor's degree. But life threw a curveball at me. This is a terrible picture, I know. This is my first child. I think this was taken on one of those really old cell phones. So that's why it's so fuzzy. This is my daughter. She was actually born my freshman year of undergraduate, but I really thought I was still going to go through and be a veterinarian. But through a series of realizations that life will throw at me, at the time there was no vet school in Arizona. There is now at the University of Arizona, but at the time there wasn't. And I didn't want to leave Arizona because I had my family here. I'm from Flagstaff. And so is my husband. So we had two sets of grandparents here and some uncles and aunts and things. Um, and I didn't want to be in school that long. Didn't appeal to me as a young mother, which, as you might have guessed, comes full circle because I did in fact go through a bunch more school. But at the time, I didn't think it was for me. There was just too much going on in my life. So I kind of floated around, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just knew it wasn't going to be a veterinarian anymore. At the same time, my college, Northern Arizona University, my university, I should say, was just starting to try to ramp up a new teacher education program. It's based on the U Teach framework model program at the University of Texas at Austin. And NAU was in one of the first rounds of not pilots, I'm trying to think of the word, of satellite programs, is what they call them. As the program expanded, I think there were 11 other universities in that first round, and NAU was one of them. So there were flyers all over the College of Natural Sciences, and just trying to bring in STEM majors to try out teaching as a profession. So I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. I'll go try that. There was also the benefit of the first two classes, the first two semesters. As long as you got a C or higher, you got reimbursed for your tuition. They were just like 1 credit classes at the time. So I was like, no problem. I'll try that out. Realized I loved it so much, which is ironic. I'm not a very social person. I mentioned I like talking about myself, but I have a social battery that has a limited life, I'll say. But turns out I was really rejuvenated by teaching and just being in the classroom and surrounded by people. So I had backed up at some point. Sorry. So my daughter was born. I graduated, became a teacher at Coconino High School here in Flagstaff. It's where I did my student teaching as well. So I did my student teaching in biology, which is my main field. But my first year of teaching, I was teaching chemistry and earth science. So there's a whole new learning curve there. I only did that for 1 year though, because as it turned out, I was pregnant with my second child during that school year. There's my two kids. Again, I was just real quickly looking for pictures. So they're kind of old, but that's okay. My youngest actually just turned 12 this week on Tuesday. So this is how long ago that was. Cell phones developed better cameras in the 6.5 years between these two kids. But because of that, I didn't go back to the classroom full time. I took a full semester off. She was born in August. She just had her birthday. And that felt like way too much. So I stepped away from the classroom, took that semester off, and then I kind of went back part time. I did some substitute teaching for a little bit. But then I realized I couldn't just step right back into my former job as a full-time teacher. So it took a couple years of doing the part-time gigs. I did substitute teaching. I did homebound teaching. I taught summer camps, all sorts of things like that. I ended up getting a call right when like my savings were depleted and I was really worried about what was going to happen. It was a call from Coconino Community College. They needed desperately a chemistry teacher for their summer class because they just realized last minute they didn't have somebody. And I had forgotten I had even put in a resume. So stroke of luck, strong stroke of luck there. And it ended up completely changing my entire career trajectory. So I stepped in. This was actually like the second class meeting of the summer session. The first class meeting, that something slipped through the cracks, right? And they realized that they didn't have an instructor before the semester started. So I stepped in week 2 of an accelerated course because it's a summer session. It was totally wild. And I wasn't really that strong in chemistry, but I must have done something right. They invited me to come back for the fall to teach biology, which I am stronger in. And for about 4 years, I taught just a very introductory non-majors course called Biology Concepts, Bio 100. And it was so much fun. I adored it because it wasn't a prerequisite for anything else. I got to just have fun with it and grow my teaching practice and try out new things, new inquiry-based learning techniques that I was learning and getting more practice at, more experience at. And then the accreditation changed a little bit. So when I first started, I only needed like upper division biology credits. But then the accrediting board was auditing everything. They're like, oh, you guys are behind by a lot. as you might have guessed at this point. I only had a bachelor's degree, and I was a certified teacher, but didn't have any graduate school. And I thought about going back to graduate school before that, but couldn't afford the tuition and I couldn't afford to go full time. But when this happened, that was my only job at the time. Was I was teaching 1 or 2 sections per semester, and I had a lot of free time. So I agreed. I went back to graduate school. I got my master's degree while part-time teaching at Coconino Community College. My master's thesis was in my Bio 100 classroom, and I realized, so my program, my master's program at NAU, it's called the Master of Arts in Science Teaching. Wonderful program, but it had the option of a non-thesis or a thesis option because it's a Master's of Arts. And I was like, I'm gonna try a research thesis. Let's just see what happens. And my advisor was super supportive, helped me through it. My first experience with this kind of research, education research, it was a very big shift for me. But again, I just loved it. I fell in love again, completely again, changed my career trajectory. So I applied to PhD programs without telling my husband at first. And then I was like, there might be some acceptance letters from schools coming in. So look out for that. But he was super supportive. I moved to Austin, Texas to pursue my PhD. I somehow did it in 4 years during COVID. I don't recommend that. That's counter advice. Don't try to do that. But it ended up working out for me. I was a GRA on a really fantastic project from Vic Sampson. If you're familiar with argument-driven inquiry, we were working on argument-driven engineering, which I don't think there's a book out yet, but I think he's working on it. So completely phenomenal advisor, wonderful project I was on. I was able to just use that data corpus to write my dissertation. So it worked out okay, even though I was working from home and so were my kids because this is COVID hit like right when I was starting to write my dissertation. And so everybody was at home. My husband was working remotely with a new company. It was a mess, but we all were in a mess together. So uh, it changed things again, but was so impactful to me. So I did my dissertation, but I was super homesick. I really wanted to come back to Arizona. I had never lived anywhere but my hometown before I moved to Texas. Luckily, the University of Arizona needed a postdoc in a field that was like kind of, I had little pieces of expertise in several different areas, and it worked out. I was working on a project called Growing Mathletes. So we were doing math education research, which I had not done before, in informal settings after school and summer camp. So I did have some teaching experience there. And the PI was an engineer. He had developed this science of sport curriculum. His name's Ricardo Valerdi. Most people don't know him, but when you see like the science of sport logo, a lot of people are familiar with that program. He founded that, and he's in the College of Engineering, which wasn't like required for anything, but because my dissertation was in engineering education, it was kind of a little boost, and we were looking at growth mindset concepts as well. The project was very rich in a lot of different areas, and somehow I was rather uniquely qualified to hit multiple of those areas. So the first and only job I applied to after during my PhD, and I got it because I just had like this really bizarre and unique diversity in my experiences. It worked out for me. So I was able to come back to Arizona, which made me feel really good. It wasn't Flagstaff, but it was pretty close. And I was just kind of content to stay there for a while. I spent 2 years there, 1 year as a postdoc and 1 year as a research professor. And then out of the blue, I got a call from, this is another stroke of luck, from my former master's advisor. He was now the department chair here at NAU, and he was hiring. So he called me and asked if I wanted to come back home, and I jumped on it. Completely unexpected. I wanted to come back, but didn't think it would happen so soon in my career. So I was able to come back home, and I started out as a future faculty fellow, which is a program that NAU is doing. It's similar to several universities have like the president's or chancellor's postdoctoral something program. It has a lot of P's in the acronym. I can't remember. But I was a little bit more independent than a postdoc, a traditional postdoc, but it was a little bit of a step back for me, but it meant I got to come home, and it was intended to feed into a tenure track position. So I was like, yes, I want that. Tenure track in my hometown with my former master's advisor as my chair, I was in 100%. So that's how I came back. That was in 2023. So this is now my third year back at NAU and my second year as an assistant professor on the tenure track. And it's just been phenomenal. I mean, we got a little bit priced out of Flagstaff in the interim when I was doing my PhD, but also me and my husband both continued our education, and we're making pretty good money, so we're barely able to do it. We squeaked by, and now we're able to stay here. My oldest daughter graduated from high school this past May from the same high school her dad graduated from. My old high school is now a middle school, but that's okay. That's where my youngest daughter is going right now, actually. So it's so good to be back home. So for I'm early career, so that's been my career journey so far. But I have every intention to stay here, and I'm so glad to be back home. So I have a few more minutes, but I have this slide is on lessons learned. So this will kind of wrap into my 30 minutes, I think. My story, let me just give you this caveat. I've had several really fortunate strokes of luck, and I tried to highlight those when I was talking. I don't know how I've gotten so lucky. I've been incredibly fortunate, but things have worked out for me. And I don't want you to compare your journeys to mine too much, but this has just been my experience. And through it, I have learned some things that I think could be helpful. First of all, there are some curveballs. My first daughter, I did not intend to have that early, but I managed to make it work. I rolled with it. My second child was planned, but the timing didn't quite work out because it was right at the beginning of a school year. And I just had to roll with it, and just not take it too seriously. As long as I was able to kind of make some money and afford to live, I was okay. It was very touch and go there, but I think I mentioned I was a first gen college student or college graduate at least. Both of my parents have taken some college courses but didn't make it through a degree. I was used to living on kind of meager means to make those ends meet. So I was able to kind of be flexible. I, of course, had my husband who has just been really steady and supportive through all of it and allowed me kind of a buffer to work with, which I guess that's my third bullet point. But so I'll come back to that. My second lesson learned is just keep your eye on the ball. I knew I wanted to come back home. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but every decision I made was to get me back home, back to where I am now. And I didn't expect it to happen so fast. I was super fortunate, but I did make it happen. So it also kind of worked out serendipitously. Like I said, I was doing summer camps and things like that just because I needed money. But it worked out for me because I was able to get that postdoc at U of A, the University of Arizona. And so I was just kept my eye on the ball while doing some side quests to just make ends meet, but they ended up they were always in this realm of STEM education. And so it allowed me to kind of diversify my portfolio while staying targeted on the career that I wanted. So keep your eye on the ball, but like there's some peripheral stuff too that was important for me. And then build up and leverage your support system. This I couldn't emphasize enough. Your support system is so important. Like I mentioned, I at first didn't want to go through that much schooling because my support system was back home and I couldn't become a veterinarian back home, which sometimes I regret, but most of the time I'm okay with where I am now. My youngest child actually wants to be a veterinarian now, so maybe I get to live precariously through, not precariously, I get to live vicariously through her. But so I had to stay home at first to be with my support system. But then as we moved on, my husband was able to come with me and really be my rock, my solid base. My PhD cohort. Well, my master's cohort too, but that was only like 2 years, and for 1 year I was the only in-person student. For the second year of my master's, I had a very close friend who started the year after me. And then through my PhD program, I'm still in touch with all of those people, my cohorts. And they have been invaluable. We've shared resources, advice, job openings, things like that. So that support system is so important. That makes it hard though if you have, because academia is built on this assumption that you're going to be mobile. You're going to go to a different state for your PhD, and then maybe a totally different state for a job, a postdoc, whatever, maybe a different country if you're an international student. This gets exponentially more difficult. But somewhere, even if it's just your cohort, your friends, if you have family nearby or that you can communicate with through the phone, through Zoom, wherever it is, somebody you can rant and offload all of your stress to, and who can just kind of help you make it to the next paycheck or whatever it is that you need done. Again, just cannot be stressed enough. I wouldn't have gotten half this far without my support system. I don't know where I'd be, but it wouldn't be in my office in an R1 institution on the tenure track. So huge strokes of luck. I was able to just kind of wrap them up in what I was trying to do, roll with the good and the bad luck that I encountered along the way. But again, that's kind of, here I was talking about how much I love to talk about myself. I'm ending early. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you, Dr. Bays, for the lessons, especially, and for being willing to share your story. Sometimes it's not an easy thing, but sharing your story so that others can learn and benefit. We really appreciate that. So, questions from our audience. Remember, you can write your questions in the chat and I can read that out, but you can unmute and just speak directly to Dr. Bays.
I have a question for Dr. Bays.
Yeah, go.
Dr. Bays, did it ever get to the point where you thought about maybe leaving academia?
Good question, Lorena, and thank you for for your question. Yeah, it does. I'm trying to think of a specific story. There have been many times I thought I would leave. I very nearly quit while I was in the midst of my dissertation. I did do it fast in 4 years, but I actually had to extend that to through the another summer session. So I started actually with the University of Arizona part-time in January of my 4th year doing my PhD. So I was working part-time remotely for them while trying to finish up my dissertation. Also, my advisor, Vic Sampson, like I said, wonderful advisor, fantastic scholar, but he had some personal things going on. So he was phasing into retirement. He was taking a 3-year retirement phase, which I think he's backed away on now and he's back. But at the time, he had to step away. So I had a co-chair that got added to my committee, Dr. Maria Gonzalez Howard. Again, phenomenal scholar, wonderful human being. I still co-author things with her. She's so fantastic. She stepped in as my co-chair so that Vic could kind of take care of some things. But her management style is very different. She offered a lot more feedback, and I became overwhelmed very quickly because Vic, like I said, was trying to just like get me done so that I could be done and go onto the job market, and he could focus on some other things. But Maria wanted me to put my absolute best foot forward. I ended up falling kind of in between those, but yeah, I had a lot of revisions on my dissertation draft. After Maria took a look at it, it did strengthen it exponentially, but it was stressful. And somewhere in the midst of that, I was like, no way, I'm gonna quit. I can't do this. So I took a break. I just took like a week or so, I think, to just focus on me and rest and make that decision before I talked to my advisor. That was my husband's advice. Just like take a few days. Don't say anything to your advisors right now. Just take a break and then come back. Think about what it would look like if you quit now. And my family has been a very strong support system, but also kind of strong at just keeping me focused because I dragged my kids away from their hometown, away from their friends. My oldest child had a very hard time of it. She began 6th grade in Texas, which is hard anyways for anybody. But then to do it in a new state with new people, she didn't have friends. She didn't know anything about the area. And then COVID hit midway through her middle school experience. And so I had to just think, like, is that going to be the legacy that I leave for her? Is that she got dragged away and put into a totally foreign environment for her, and then I just quit. Like, I had a dissertation drafted. I just had to make some revisions. You know what I mean? So that was my first serious consideration of leaving academia. But I decided I'll at least finish this up. I'll finish it up. It'll be okay, and then I'll make another decision later. But by then I was already started at U of A, so I finished my dissertation, and actually I moved to Tucson first and then defended my dissertation from an Airbnb, which of course, because of my committee, they were all on summer vacation because I had to extend to the summer. And I was now in a different time zone, so I had to defend my dissertation at 6 a.m. from an Airbnb. That was wild. But I did it. It was successful. I didn't have any revisions. I had some formatting revisions, but that was it. So I was so proud of myself. And then I was at U of A, so I was like, okay, now I'll do this. Thanks, Lorena. That was the first consideration, and it's happened a few times since then. But I'm not serious about leaving now. And now I'm like set up. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get me out of here. Great question, though. Yeah, there have been multiple times. That was the first and maybe only time that I was super serious about leaving. Yeah. Well, I think if I hadn't have gotten the job offer up here, I probably would have done the same because U of A faced a bunch of budget cuts right around the same time. And as a research professor, I was on soft money, no state funding, and I might have quit then too, or not, not been renewed because there was no money to pay for research associates, research professors. But I was able to sidestep that.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for also providing the inspiration that and the support that kept you on track.
Oh, thank you for being here, Lorena. Lorena's my colleague here at NAU. So.
Oh, I see.
I'm really
I
glad
see.
to have her here.
And I think it's so good because I'm sure she's not asking just for herself. Like a lot of grad students grapple, like, is this worth it? And postdocs, like, things can hit you hard. And so thank you for asking our questions and the answers that you've given, Dr. Bays. I'm sure it's going to help others who are in that situation. We have another question from Rachel Garcia, and I'm gonna read. She says, you mentioned a lot of ways you had lucky breaks, but I imagine you set up the conditions where you could take advantage of them. Can you think of things you did that set you up to take advantage of these opportunities?
Great question. That was from Rachel, right?
Yes, Rachel Garcia asks that.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, just kind of keeping all my little side quests that I mentioned, we're still kind of within the field of science education, STEM education. So I agree. I think that the conditions existed for me to roll with those curveballs. I just realized I've got 2 baseball terms up there, or idioms, and that was not super intentional, but I could have leveraged that more. I didn't necessarily do it intentionally. I had no idea that I was going to be here. I knew during my PhD program I wanted to be a professor, but before, at the very earliest, maybe like while I was doing my master's thesis, I realized this is something that I wanted to do. But by then the conditions existed. So there was serendipity. But I've known for a very long time that I wanted to be within this realm of STEM education. So I kept it kind of focused on that, building my skills, and my CV, resume at the time. It was still one page. But yeah, just kind of being willing to take on those things like, yeah, I'll substitute teach for a couple of years, just to pay the bills while I figure out what I'm gonna do next. The summer camps ended up being one of my favorite things. I was even just thinking earlier today about how I can make sure that I'm not totally full next summer so that I can go back and teach a week of summer camps. Um, but it was always still kind of within my field. And my husband kept criticizing me at the time when we were pretty broke and had just had a second kid and all of this, that I even if I was like a clerk at a gas station or flipping burgers, like I needed to make more money. And I was like, I really need to do this. And like I said, I managed to find part-time work. I was at one point working 3 or 4 part-time positions at a time. The calendars, the Google calendars, let me tell you, they got intense as I had different different Google accounts for different positions. Was intense. So I was very busy, but only part-time work, but it was always within my field. And that ended up setting up the conditions for me to be where I am now. I just didn't know at the time that that's what I wanted or that it would actually happen for me. That's not going to work for everybody, but I managed to make it work. Again, because I had that support system.
We still have time for questions. So if there's a burning question that you have for you or for someone else, you can ask Dr. Bays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know my story is not super typical. Nobody's really is. They're all unique. But I've had some really fortunate turns that came my way. I don't know how. I was a first gen college student, a young parent. What? I don't know what I did right. Good karma. I don't know. But again, just really my support system I was able to lean on them.
I have a question.
Mhm.
You are very upbeat here. A lot of people I know in academia are not very upbeat about academia. I was just curious if you wanted to comment on what is making you happy right now, or
Right
anything
now,
else related to what I'm saying.
um, what am I doing? I don't know. I taught this morning, so I had a class. It went well. My co-instructor for that class is also super upbeat, so I'm just kind of riding those waves right now, I think. Um, Lorena knows sometimes there's just all of this that happens that really gets to me. But I have like motivational things on my walls. I wonder if I can pull this one down. That's not a very motivational one, anyways. But I do have a quote on my whiteboard. It says, "We conquer by continuing." It's a quote I came across last semester, I think, or maybe in the fall. It's from George Matheson, who was, I think, a Scottish preacher or something. But it kind of like I've been doing this since grad school, actually. Just whenever I have a whiteboard, I write inspirational quotes on it that I can just refer to when I'm feeling the pressure, feeling down right now in this world that we live in, where there are attacks from our federal administration on education and on STEM. I have an NSF grant that every week I check. I'm like, really? I still have it? How? I don't know how. It's about culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogies, and I'm sure it was on all sorts of lists, but somehow, because I didn't say equity or diversity in the title, it made it through. But I have colleagues who had their funding terminated, and our Center for STEM Teaching and Learning just had 20% of their pay just totally taken away with no warning. So it's easy to get swamped by all of that. But I have this quote: "We conquer by continuing." We just got to keep going, you know. If we quit, then the only people who benefit are those who are trying to underscore the work that we do. And it is heavy. I go home and I just, you know what I mean? I watch Star Trek, is what I'm watching right now, or RuPaul's Drag Race. And I have to just turn my brain off because otherwise I'll, like Lorena asked, I'll consider quitting again, right? But I believe in the work that I do, and I have wonderful colleagues, Lorena included, here who just kind of help out. There's a group who does a happy hour every payday, so sometimes I go to that. You just have to have ways to decompress. You have to do what you can inside your sphere of influence. Ooh, let me recommend a book. Ruha Benjamin wrote this book, Viral Justice. She's written some other books, but I first came across her because at U of A, she was giving a talk on this book and did a book signing. So she signed my book. And then I read it after that. But she talks about just like cultivating your own garden, which is a metaphor that she uses throughout the book. And you got to focus on what you can actually change, or your sphere of influence, a lot of people call it too, and not burden yourself with things outside of that. So my classroom, my grant, my department, that's where I can make incremental changes. And then I do what I can during the work day. And then I go home and I don't check my email. I don't think about work anymore, which means I'm behind on course planning, but it's how I am able to survive. And then occasionally be upbeat when I'm on Zoom with new people. But yes, it's a very heavy world that we live in as educators and as scientists. And then with that double whammy of being science educators, it it's hard, it's heavy, but I take inspiration and motivation from the work that I do and the work that my colleagues do. And then I go home and I shut it off so that I can rest and my little battery can recharge. Great question. Those are the things I do. Not the most healthy. I should exercise. That's what I should do.
But I think that's very practical advice, especially the part where you focus on your sphere of influence and then just
Yeah.
making incremental changes. So that's very pragmatic and practical. So it's great advice. So any other questions? If we still have questions, we can take them, and then after that we can call it a day. Thank you again for giving us time, Dr. Bays.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your invaluable experiences. And yeah, like you said, everyone's story is different, but we learn from each other, and we stay inspired, hopeful that
Yeah. Build your community and then lean on them.
yeah,
That's the best thing that you can do.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So I'm wondering whether Blessing has a question, as I can see we still have Blessing here. Or
I don't have a question, but that was really a great talk, Dr. Bass. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
all right. All right. So with that said, thanks again, Dr. Bays. So we can call it a day. We can call it a day. Thank you for giving us time. Thank you for sharing your words of advice and your experience.
Absolutely.
We're
Thank
so
you for
grateful.
inviting me.
Yeah. Have a great day, you all.
Bye, everyone. I
Yeah,
hope you
bye
take.
everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, thank you.
Enjoy your long weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Stop sharing. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad they got something out of that. I felt very rushed, but
Oh, yeah.
that's my own fault.
didn't need to be rushed because you just share your story the
Yeah.
way you can. Like our previous speaker
Mhm.
just shared without preparing any document. So I just
Okay.
thought like if you needed to, you
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
you made something great out of it. I liked the way, and then people are relatable. Like stories speak more than just bullet points and like that was engaging.
Good. Yeah. Like I said, I was like, oh, I want some pictures. It also helped me kind of work through my career journey.
Oh
Starting
yeah.
there. So
I see. Yeah,
yeah.
it kind of helps you to reflect where you come
Yeah.
from, where you are right now, and where you're
Right.
going. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
then I was able to throw some pictures in there and it worked out.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll let you go on with the rest of your day,
Yeah.
and
You too.
hopefully I'll see you in Seattle in our next
Yeah.
conference. Yeah.
Yes. I
Have a
need to
great
be
day.
there because I am part of a committee and I put in a related paper set and a symposium. Whew,
Uh-huh.
so I should be all over NARST.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
All right.
right.
Well, see you then, Collins. Thank you
See
again.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.